Right, first thing we've got to do, we've got to upgrade all of these, except for use background of the original Lambert, the particle, cloud, just the regular stuff, and then just all these ones that Camille's made. So what we'll do first with the hyper shader up, just going to select it, go to the attribute area, and you can see as I've already been doing it, got upgrade shader. So these will now be able to be viewed in passes. So when I do my diffuse and indirect, these will be working. It's quite long. If I don't do it, it won't be seen. And another thing I'm going to take into account is that the master scene has the entire control over the scene. So no matter how many render layers I've done, the master layers are the original settings. So I'll get rid of that. Now the one thing we don't need whatsoever in any layers is for the HDR to be seen. So we can keep your outliner up, get rid of the primary visibility so it would still be interacting but not be seen. Then we're going to do the same as like the image plane. Obviously it'd be good for referencing from modelers, but for rendering we don't need it. We'll apply it in compositing. And then I'm just going to go to the render settings, and we've got it on HD. We want fast render times. Obviously I'll change this at the end so that we can render out in a couple of minutes rather than waiting 15 or whatnot. We'll just drop this to 0. We could change the filter in, but at the moment it's not letting me, so we'll leave it. But anyway, that's just so we got quick renders, and it should be here still. That was what I got from my color pass. That was what we got from the render. Color pass render. As you can see, it's exactly the same. Looks a lot better with the background, but obviously this is all down to Guled and compositing and myself if I train myself. Okay, anyway. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need to start our render layers. All the settings have been set up, and you pretty much need everything in the scene. We're just going to add that to a new layer. We're going to call it color. Now, I've added this. This is 2 parts. I'm not too sure. We need both because this, the ground plane, has no color whatsoever. Even does this, but we need this so that it will separate. It will keep this tree trunk as if it was there. So we need that there still. So what we could do, we'll just right click here, remove select object. Don't do what I did, and I deleted it by accident, and it's still there, which is not a good sign. Let's try it again. Remove selected object. And again, it's still there. What the fuck you know, huh? Fuck it. Alright, anyway. It would have saved us a little hassle if it wasn't going to be a prick about it. Let's see if this went up. Alright, it's taking the piss. Shit. Alright, get the camera back. Okay, it's taking the piss, so we're just going to keep them all in there, but what we have to do, we have to change the, because it's a group, we have to change it in this mental ray tab here, and we'll create a layer override, and we do not want it to be visible. I don't like doing it this way. I like doing them separately, really a separate geometry, but it should be the same outcome. Nonetheless, we don't need that. We don't need the color for them. All the colors have been upgraded for it. So literally now, all we need to do is add the passes. And the passes we need, as I have no light in here whatsoever, apart from the indirect lighting from the final gather and the HDR image that we have in the circular globe, we just want a camera. We don't need a fuse, we need a camera depth, so we can use that, indirect, and a specular. Now we don't know, to be honest, these are the ones we've been using of late. We could use a lot more, but we'll set the others up in separate layers. Nonetheless, these three are definitely what we'll use. The indirect, the diffuse I might come back to after. If this works, check the diffuse out. But that would be somewhere else. Anyway, that's all we've assigned it. They should be applied. Now I'm going to go through everyone, so then I can just test the renders after. I should really render it now before moving on. Well, nonetheless. Anyway, new layer, AO underscore ground. Now, even though we're focusing on the ground, we still need all of these again. I would say let's go. We need everything because we're going to go for a full match. And select objects. Now, instead of the ground being not there, we need these. We need the plants to go. So individually, we'll do the same as their groups. We'll change this. We do not want them to be visible. Create an override. Again, another override. Just want to do this for all of them, so that they won't be seen, but they should still show interaction with the ground. So no, they're out. My bad. There. We don't need them. We need them. So we need the original settings that will be in the master layer, which would have been to be visible. Now we need that because obviously this is where we're going to get the ambient occlusion on the tree trunk and the floor. So now we've got everything that needs to be there. We could do it two ways. We could either apply the surface shader, or what I'm going to do, or we could do a surface shader so that we could get our ambient occlusion, or we could use the preset as well. But for the, or we could even just use the pass, and I think that in previous tests the pass has been working a lot better. So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add the pass for now, because there's a few things we need to do. This is a new layer. We need ambient occlusion. We just need to apply it, and what we're going to do, we're going to double click on that. And this is something I should have had done in the previous passes. We need to put this number of channels to 4 so we get the alpha channel as well. And obviously, as it's a pass, it's all the attributes should be here. See, these are the local settings. If it's not going to take all its fucking time. Calm down. Okay, there we go. Now this is the thing. Obviously, you can't test this as quickly or what have you. There we go. Look, fuck me. Right. So these are it's the spread. Maximum distance is not too bad. It's more the spread and the rays that need to be. 64 is quite good, but we could up these, but we would need to test them. The bad thing about the pass is you have to render the entire frame as per usual, as if you were doing the color or the master pass, and then look through your what pass through the images and what pass you wanted. Obviously this is ambient occlusion, and you would see how it would look. So we don't really have time for that. So what we could do, go back to our layers here, right click, override, the fuck are you, bud? Then we go to attributes, and here there'll be presets, and we can just do an occlusion And now it should have done it for us. We'll just render this. My render view is really large because it was set to a thing. And you can see already that we have an ambient occlusion look going on. You can see there's a little bit of grayness rather. And one thing I forgot we could do as well was speed up render time for this. In particular is the final gather doesn't need to be on because it's only an ambient occlusion. It doesn't need to be on. And this is where we are getting our issues. Oh, you can see there, that should not be there, those plants, so we need to remove them. But generally, we are getting what we wanted, apart from that, that is a completely different render frame for what we want, which is very peculiar. But anyway, so what one didn't have? Ah, yeah, here we go, these little fuckers. So let me just do that, as we have been doing before, and then they will be disappeared. And then we will need to do a layer override of the... I'm not too sure why that is got a layer override there, which isn't using a layer override, that's using it. That's using it. And therefore, it must be the preset. These are the preset settings. And now, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna lie, my mice seems to be very slow. Just gonna turn that off as a layer override. And that should increase render time. And I think, because it's quite slow, I'm gonna save this quickly. And I've got a lot of files and they're all been renamed very stupidly. So we're just gonna call this Xmas Ferns render tests 01. As you can see, they are, it's the same scene. Let's see, we can get another good render, which is not. Hopefully this one will be in more of the right positioning. We'll compare this with... Yeah, look, you can see a lot more density. But this graininess is not what we want. We don't want it to be grainy. We want it to be not solid, but we want it is soft, but it's too messy. Now, hopefully that tree trunk fucking better be there as well. But the issue that we are getting is that the transparency which is being used for our textures is not affecting the shadows. So this is technically incorrect. See, it's the right place where they're closer to the ground. In the same positioning. However, it's not right. Now I should, if I go into my Finder, my projects, find here. Technically it should be in here, but you never know with this. Here, this, because they're ifs, I cannot view them. But let me try something. This is what I have learnt beforehand. If we use, let's go to Autodesk. I'm using 2011 at the time, and if you open it with fcheck, usually it should be able to open the if file. And there you go, that's the ambient occlusion, which is correct in some stance, but it's the wrong way around. Anywho, we don't want to focus on that. But the surface shader needs some we need the textures to come through the surface shaders. Now, let's see. Because obviously this is going to be exactly the same but opposite for our ambient occlusion for the ferns. So if we get this ambient occlusion of the ground correct with the correct settings, yeah, this is the surface shader being used for the ambient occlusion. Now, this is the issue of using a preset. So if we actually looked at the attributes of this, there could be some way of ensuring that this is coming through. So it could be to the out transparency, but the issue is because we have one shade applied to all of it, all of our objects, we are having the problem that we can't see. We need to create more of this surface shader. This is nothing to do with us. For now, anyway. Just having a little look for us, see? No behavior, no behavior. So it could be in this out transparency, but this is the actual, this is where we would look at the settings for our ambient occlusion. So the spread and so forth, the max distance, and sometimes reversing them may help the compositor, especially for Guled. He keeps notifying me that, but I think it's more for the shadows. But nonetheless, inverted, they can do that, we can do that. But we would need to make sure that each one of these plants had one of these on their own, and I think really I should be just testing one set of ferns. For now, we may come back to that. I should do it now, but it's quite long-winded, and I'd rather focus on one tree or one set of ferns, just maybe these small amounts, so I could see if they were working correctly, what is incorrect, what isn't correct, which technically I could do right now. So let's do that. If I remove all of these, what am I doing in my life? If I remove all of these, and then these should be here still. They are. They have the applied surface shader. If we created another surface shader, and I got rid of that. If I created another surface shader and applied it to this, keep it the same. So technically we would want to duplicate this, but as you can see, this is what it is. This should be a, so if we created our own surface shader, see, it's in the out color, yes, out color. So next time I would do this, instead of using the preset, I could just do this by hand, by manually. So it's, where are you, fucker? Yeah, here it is. Which is exactly the same as the other. Okay, they're connected. Well, they should fucking be. There we go. All connected. Alright. So now, if we could play around with maybe... What leaves did we pick? Fern light. If we find the fern light, here we go, it's this one. This is the texture. We need that texture on this transparency. This texture on this transparency. So, if we click on there, it should be in our work area, really. The fuck is it doing? This is quite embarrassing. Right, it's not. I'll just do this. BAM! Right, now this to go into this. So, what do we need out of this? In general, we need most of it. But where is the texture? So if we... plug color texture into Lambert's transfer. So complicated. Anyway, and I needed that hypershade. We need something from this to go into this, and it's got to be the out transparency here. I'm going to use color. If I can find the color, okay, this is getting very confusing and a bit embarrassing. Let's just check. Let's just make a new one. It's exactly the same as the color. So I'm thinking copy layer. Let's bring it up. Except for we don't need this. Passes, and this will be for our color matte. It's another pass, and it's 2D motion vector. See, with the 2D motion vector, you need to realize so it's a 32-bit float. So for this, we will need to change. We need to assign it. Oh. You don't need these. You don't need this. We need to change the frame buffer. So again, don't need this. Maybe keep it on just for safekeeping because I can't remember much. In quality, frame buffer. Yeah, data type. We need to make it 30 normal 32 3 times 32 bit, and we'll make that a create layer override. And as well as that, you render it out. We need it as a OpenEXR. So again, layer override, OpenEXR. Okay. That should be it for, let's change this to motion vector and rename this, we don't want to get confused, as motion vector. Okay, that's motion vector done. That is pretty much fine now. On this layer, we still need to do a color map and the shadows. The shadows are as just as bad as the ambient occlusion, involving issues with with the textures again, but this will include more nodes inputted. Camille's area more than mine, but at the end of the day, I need to know these. I need to know these techniques so that when I render, if I run into any problems, I need them. Nonetheless, I'm going to attempt. So we're going to do a shadow. So shadow ground. Okay, plug color texture into Lambert's transparency. So this is what we need to do to create this texture we need to apply to the shadows. At the end of the day is, and then is very confusing. We need to create a reverse node which plugs into the out transparency to input of the Lambert incandescence. So first of all, we'll need to include our light, which is our image-based lighting. And again, I think I'm just going to do, and obviously the ground. Here we are. And again, because we could just make these a Lambert, but using the transparency, we should still be getting the shadows. So let me just check one thing. We need to make sure that this is see, it's still invisible. It's still got no visibility. And we need to apply a new texture to these ferns. Because at the moment we're not going to get what we need. We need to make sure that these just show the correct amount of shadow. Could be no shadow, we don't know, but especially on the ground we know there's shadow. So we're just looking at the fern light, bring it into our work area, bring a new Lambert, and I am going to rename this straight away. Shadow light fern. Now, color texture. Let's bring this over here. this should go in here. Into transparency. Alright, let's bring me with this. Cannot select transparency. I think it's out transparency, isn't it? Unless we actually pick this first. Here in transparency. This needs to go in this transparency. Transparency. I am either doing this very wrong or something. Basically, the issues we are having is ambient occlusion and see that we don't need to put this in. This needs to go into this so that we can apply this to the geometry because we just want the texture. This needs to go into the out. Let's get a reverse node up. In utilities, here we are. I cannot see a thing. Reverse. There we are. Plug color texture. I think it means this. That's better. I think I'm on the way. Okay, and because if we look at this now, you can see we're getting some sort of appearance. We need a reverse node, plug out transparency into input of the Lambert incandescence. Okay, I'm not too sure what I have done right now, but no matter what, we are going to attempt it. We can see what it looks like. We do not want that. We just want to select them and assign to material, and we will still have final gather on. We do not need this. It will save us time. Create layer override, and we'll see how this looks. And that is obviously incorrect. Even though I have not applied any change. Let's get rid of this reverse node. And what I am going to do, this should still be. Okay, things are going horribly wrong. And obviously, I need to fix up my act. Motion vector is fine. Let's go on motion vector. I might as well try and do something right, shall I? I have to look at my notes and attempt this once more. Okay, good and bad. Color is what should be working fine. We had enough trouble with them. We upgraded all all the textures, so they were going to work for passes. We applied the diffuse, specular, and indirect. We did no diffuse, sorry. Specular, depth, and indirect. We should do a diffuse, but this would need additional lighting, which I would do personally. This will not take long at all, as long as we get the correct lighting as the appearance of the area. The motion vectors was set up fine. The matte is the same issue. It's all down to these textures. If anything, I need to sit down with Camille once more and go through these textures again, because it shouldn't take long. It should take an hour. I can write all the notes, prepare them, write all the notes down. I've got them. I can practice them. And I will ask that tomorrow we can do this, because it's getting quite ridiculous. I will look over my notes again, take down the main notes, maybe attempt this again later. But at this point in time, the issues are the ambient occlusions, the shadows and this includes the ground and ferns. The ground should be much easier. But again, it's down to the transparency. We will need to talk to Camille there. And this will be the same as the colour mattes. I wanted to do one last thing. I wanted to see if we could... Okay, let's see if that will work actually. Let's see how this motion vector works. It shouldn't take too long. Or it may. You text me. And this is obviously, I was doing it. Just it might take a while. Apart from that, I've got some notes, but they are quite hard to explain. I need to write them down properly. They are in note form, but I need to get a proper description of what is necessary to accomplish these renders, because they are a fuckeries at the moment. We've got the diffuse and all that jazz. That is all working now. However, it is the paint effects are still proving to be an issue. We'll just have to make sure that... Okay, this is the motion vector. And to be honest, that's the geometry. That looks okay. Okay, I'm not sure. Something's happening there. I think something's actually wrong with my computer. Here's a motion vector. That's not good. I need to fix up. Thanks for your time. Peace out. Yeah. Okay. Later.